Celebrities who built personas to survive. Everything you think you know about celebrities might be a character, a mask, a carefully constructed shield. Because for some stars, fame wasn't freedom, it was exposure. So they built personas, not for attention, but for survival. Behind the outrageous outfits, the alter egos, the mystery, were real people trying to protect something fragile. Their sanity, their privacy, their identity. In this series, we uncover the celebrities who didn't just perform on stage. They performed to survive. Because when the world is watching, sometimes the only way to stay alive is to become someone else. This is Celebrity Unscreened. And these are the personas that saved, and sometimes trapped, the people behind them. Let's begin. We start with a woman who didn't create a persona for fame. She created it to survive pain. This is Lady Gaga. Number 1, Lady Gaga. Gaga wasn't fame. She was armor. Lady Gaga didn't create a persona to shock the world. She created one to survive it. Brain before Gaga, Stefani Germanata before the costumes. Before the theatrics. Before the name. There was Stefani. A classically trained pianist. Sensitive. Creative. Rejected. The industry didn't want authenticity. It wanted something louder. Performing arts, the birth of a persona, so Stefani disappeared. And Lady Gaga arrived. Not as an act, but as protection. Gaga was fearless, where Stefani felt exposed. Outrageous, where Stefani felt ignored. Unapologetic, where Stefani felt small. Blackheart performance as survival, every extreme look. Every shocking performance. Every exaggerated movement. Wasn't chaos. It was control. If she became too strange to attack, she became untouchable. Tornado, when the persona takes over, but personas don't switch off easily. Gaga lived inside the character. Interviews, red carpets, public appearances. Stefani stayed hidden because stepping out felt unsafe. Puzzle piece, why Gaga was necessary. The persona wasn't ego. It was defense. A barrier between vulnerability and cruelty. A shield strong enough to withstand fame. Candle, the cost of becoming someone else over time. The armor became heavy. Burnout followed. Identity blurred. The line between character and self dissolved. Protection turned into pressure. Lady Gaga survived by becoming someone else. The next artist did the same, but turned his persona into a cosmic myth. Up next, David Bowie. Number 2, David Bowie. Ziggy Stardust wasn't a character. He was escape. Lady Gaga built armor. David Bowie built a universe. Brain before Ziggy, David Jones before the lightning bolt. Before the alien. Before the legend. There was David Jones. Quiet. Observant. Afraid of disappearing. In a world crowded with voices. He feared being invisible. Rocket, the birth of Ziggy Stardust. Ziggy wasn't cosplay. He was permission. Permission to be strange. Permission to be theatrical. Permission to be free. Through Ziggy, Bowie escaped limitations. Blackheart persona as total immersion. Bowie didn't step into Ziggy. He became him. On stage. Off stage. In interviews. Reality bent around the persona. Tornado, when the mask starts to consume. Ziggy took over, personality, speech, relationships. The boundary between self and myth dissolved. And Bowie felt himself fading. Puzzle piece, why the persona was dangerous. The persona protected Bowie, but threatened to replace him. Identity became fluid. Stability disappeared. Candle, the shocking choice. Bowie did the unthinkable. He killed Ziggy. On stage. Publicly. Without warning. Because survival required letting go. Bowie escaped by ending his persona. The next artist refused to end his. He turned himself into the myth. Up next, Kanye West. Number 3. Kanye West. He didn't create a persona. He became the story. David Bowie killed his persona to survive. Kanye West did the opposite. He fed his brain before the myth. Kanye West before the controversy. Before the headlines. Before the declarations of greatness. There was a producer. Talented. Dismissed. Unseen. The industry heard his beats, not his voice. Building construction, the construction of a godlike image, so Kanye built something larger. Not a character. A narrative. Genius. Visionary. Chosen. Because if the world wouldn't validate him, he would validate himself. Blackheart persona as armor and weapon. The persona did two things: protected insecurity, commanded attention. Outrage became strategy. Confidence became performance. The louder he was, the harder he was to ignore. Tornado when identity and performance collide, but Kanye didn't step out of the persona. Ever. Public moments. Private struggles. Mental health. All became content. The story consumed the man. Puzzle piece why the persona was necessary. The persona wasn't ego alone. It was survival. In a world that doubted him, he overbelieved. Candle the cost of never taking the mask off when you live as the myth. There's no room for rest. No separation. No refuge. Just spotlight. Kanye turned himself into a legend. The next artist did the opposite. She disappeared behind perfection. Up next. Beyoncé. Number 4, Beyoncé. The persona built on silence. Kanye demanded to be seen. Beyoncé chose something more powerful. Control. Brain before the icon. Beyoncé Knowles. Before the untouchable image. Before the mystery. Before the precision. There was a child star. Watched. Managed. Exposed early. Fame arrived before boundaries existed. Shield the construction of the unreachable icon. So Beyoncé built a persona. By saying less. Fewer interviews. No explanations. No access. Silence became strategy. Blackheart discipline as defense. Every appearance is calculated. Every release intentional. Every word measured. Not because she's cold, but because openness once cost her privacy. Tornado the power of absence. Beyoncé understood something early: the less people know, the more they project. Mystery creates authority. Puzzle piece why the persona worked. She didn't need chaos. She needed distance. The persona protected her family, her art, her mental space. Candle the hidden cost of perfection. Perfection isolates. No mistakes allowed. No vulnerability shown. The image must hold. Always. Beyoncé survived by becoming untouchable. The next artist survived by becoming dangerous. Up next. Eminem. Number 5, Eminem. Slim Shady was a place to hide. Beyoncé survived by silence. Eminem survived by saying everything. Brain before Slim Shady. Marshall Mathers. Before the rage. Before the shock lyrics. Before the headlines. There was Marshall. Poor. Angry. Invisible. Life gave him no filter. So he created one. Performing arts. The birth of Slim Shady. Slim Shady wasn't a joke. He was permission. Permission to say what Marshall couldn't. Permission to explode. The persona absorbed the damage. Blackheart persona as a pressure valve. Through Slim Shady, anger became art, trauma became performance, pain became entertainment. The mask protected the man. Tornado when the persona escapes control. But chaos attracts chaos. The character grew louder. The world blurred fiction and reality. Marshall became trapped behind the voice. Puzzle piece why the persona was necessary. Without Slim Shady, There might not have been survival. The persona gave distance from pain. Candle the moment of reckoning. Eventually, Eminem pulled back. He didn't kill the persona. He learned to control it. Eminem turned darkness outward. The next artist turned darkness into an aesthetic. Up next, The Weeknd. Number 6, the Weeknd. He turned pain into an aesthetic. Eminem used chaos to survive. The Weeknd romanticized it. Brain before the persona, able tesfaye before the shadows. Before the red suit. Before the haunting voice. There was Abel. Quiet. Disconnected. Running from home. Pain wasn't performance yet. It was real. Waxing crescent moon. The creation of The Weeknd. The persona wasn't exaggerated. It was amplified truth. Loneliness. Addiction. Numbness. The character let him exist without explanation. Blackheart darkness as identity. The Weeknd didn't hide pain. He curated it. Sound. Visuals. Stories. Suffering became signature. Tornado. When the aesthetic becomes a cage. But living inside darkness changes you. The persona fed expectations. The pain had to continue. Even when healing began. Puzzle piece. Why the persona protected him. The mask allowed honesty without exposure. Fans loved the myth. Abel stayed distant. Candle breaking the cycle. Eventually, the persona evolved. The character shifted. Not erased, reshaped. The Weeknd hid behind darkness. The next artist hid behind mystery. Up next, Prince. Number 7, Prince. Mystery was his shield. The Weeknd turned pain into atmosphere. Prince did something different. He disappeared on purpose. Brain before the mystery. Prince Rogers Nelson before the symbol. Before the silence. Before the control. There was a child prodigy. Gifted. Intense. Possessive of his art. And deeply distrustful of the industry. Shield. The persona of absence. Prince didn't build a loud persona. He built distance. No explanations. No access. No compromise. Mystery became power. Blackheart silence as control. When artists were expected to speak. Prince withheld. When labels demanded ownership. Prince resisted. The less he revealed, the less they could take. Tornado. The symbol ERA. Even his name became armor. Unpronounceable. Untouchable. He erased identity to protect autonomy. Puzzle piece. Why the persona worked. Mystery kept him sovereign. No one could define what they couldn't understand. Candle. The price of disappearing. But isolation has a cost. Distance protects. But it also separates. Prince survived by becoming unknowable. And that leaves one final question. Brain. Who are you when the persona disappears? Every persona you just saw wasn't fake. It was necessary. Lady Gaga didn't become Gaga to stand out. She became Gaga to survive. David Bowie didn't invent Ziggy Stardust for fun. He needed a way out. Kanye didn't exaggerate himself. He armored his insecurity. Beyoncé didn't disappear. She protected her peace. Eminem didn't create Slim Shady for shock. He needed somewhere to put the pain. The Weeknd didn't glorify darkness. He learned to live inside it. And Prince. Prince made mystery his last line of defense. Brain. The core realization. These personas weren't lies. They were lifeboats. Because fame doesn't just give you attention. It takes pieces of you in return. So here's the question that lingers. Backhand index pointing right. Who are you when the persona disappears? And if you had to build one to survive, what would it look like? Backhand index pointing down. Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you're drawn to the stories behind the spotlight. If you're fascinated by the psychology beneath celebrity, then this is your channel. Welcome to Celebrity Unscreened. Sparkle's strange truths. Sparkles hidden identities. Sparkles the stories they never tell. Backhand index pointing right subscribe. Backhand index pointing right turn on notifications. Backhand index pointing right and stay curious. Rocket T's next series, Retention Boost, coming up next on Celebrity Unscreened, celebrities who try to disappear control. Discipline. Numbers. Efficiency. Identity.